Good morning. Welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I'm Cindy. I have a couple of housekeeping things to take care of first. I told you yesterday when I sent out my thank you video for all of my 1,000 plus subscribers that I would be back later on in the day. That did not happen, so I apologize for that. I had one of those days that was busy, but it went from busy to crazy, like faster than, a toboggan down a hill of ice. The day sort of spun out of control a little bit, but we're here, we're whole, it's all good. Please take a moment and in whatever manner or fashion you choose, and if you so desire, just please take a second and send some love and some light to California. That is kind of a hard situation. I mean, you've got earthquakes and aftershocks going on, covering a huge sort of land area. We actually had, before your tornado, or before your earthquake, we had a earthquake on our Pacific coast, just north of Vancouver, in BC, 2 days before yours. So clearly that fault line is blowing off a little steam. Let's hope that's all that fault line is doing. Additionally, there are people now in Plantation, Florida, who are just recovering from a gas explosion, and so a few kind thoughts their way would also, I'm sure, be well received and appreciated. So, a little bit ago, half an hour, whatever, I saw a clip of Trump once again desecrating the White House lawn by standing on it and yakking like a fool. And he was on and on about why the citizenship question on the census was so vital and so important. And I thought, what do you care? Like, why is this so important to you? And sometimes when you ask a question exactly the right way, you get a really interesting answer. So I have a question. And my question is, why is Donald Trump using his bully pulpit for the citizenship question on the census? I mean, come on, honestly. Do any of you actually believe before he took office, and possibly not even then, that he even understood what a census was? I mean, let alone, I'm not actually convinced he could have spelled it, but why does he care? It doesn't have anything to do with his profit margins. It doesn't have anything to do with, his trade, trade branding his name. It seems to be sort of a really unusual thing that he would take on as his cause of the day. So let's just give these cards one more quick shuffle, and I'm going to bring you on down, and I want to know why Trump is so involved in the census questions. Trump and census. Trump and census. Trump and census. Let's just see if we can figure out what's going on there, because something is. That over there. Okay. All right. With the news that came out that, in whatever year it is, 10 years down the road or whatever it is, that America would be more, brown and black versus white. That explosion of that part of the population caused a real sort of panic, um, particularly in the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is sort of all about keeping the elitists happy, keeping the wealthy, productive people in your corner, and kind of doing what you can to shoo away people in need. Whether they are low income, whether they are disabled, whatever it is. Sorry, excuse me. They don't like that, right? I mean, they only want people who are contributing to society, who are putting money in their coffers of the government. They don't like this whole, supporting people or helping people out a little bit financially when they hit a rough spot. They really are, it's almost like a survival of the fittest, right? It's like, and as soon as you're wounded or injured or not able to carry your weight, they kind of want you off the books. It's kind of a really, I don't know that the Republican Party was always like that, but it is sort of sad what has happened to them. And of course, part of the reason that they had this reaction was because, who is in the Republican Party? Well, old white men. And they don't want to let go of the reins for anybody else. So, kind of, it's like weird. It's like a plan was hatched. They want to keep the people out in the cold who don't deserve to be in the country or supported by the country. So, okay, I'm just going to tell you the impressions I'm getting, and then we'll throw out some more cards and we should get some clarity in it. Okay, here we go. I swear this sounds like a little bit of a conspiracy theory as it's rolling around in my head, but I don't do conspiracy theories, so I have to assume that what I'm receiving is accurate, and this is what I'm receiving. First, the Republicans wanted to do the whole, let's flood the courts with conservatives. Let's get all the courts talking and thinking the same way we do. The next thing they want to do is find a way to keep their areas where their support is strong and in control. So one of the ways you would do that, aside from gerrymandering, which is one of their favorites, is by making sure that the census reflected what you wanted it to reflect. So what you want it to reflect is that there are lower numbers of people in need in any particular state or area. So that with lower numbers, well, you can then cut the funding because there aren't as many people that you're taking care of. In doing that, you really do create kind of a two-class society. There are those who have, and then everybody else is sort of going to be struggling to maintain anything that looks like a status quo or a standard of life. And, unfortunately, in your country, as in most countries, those people that I'm talking about, they're like 85, 90%, 95% of the population of a country. I mean, whether you are receiving healthcare benefits or some side of social security or some kind of support. I don't know what all the programs are in your country, so I'm not trying to insult anybody. I don't know the names, but there's that baby program and the kindergarten program. They just want that stuff gone. They don't want to pay for anything. They just want to receive money. So, when the Republicans got Trump, and they realized that he was really malleable, that he could, they could pretty much make him do or say a fair bit of things just by how they slanted the information that they were giving him. Really, really clearly, this is what I see. Somewhere, shortly after Trump took office, there was a conversation that went on, and I'm going to say for sure with Mitch McConnell and Trump and probably a few other high-ranking Republicans or, government officials. And this was sort of how the conversation went. Trump, you have no business being in this role, but you can be useful to us. So this is a trade-off. You will get our support when it comes to some of your policies, like, your relationship with Putin and what went on, and kind of we're going to do what we can to, hide the money laundering, hide the misdeeds. The payback, or the quid to the pro, is this. You, Trump, are going to champion the causes that we want championed. So, we want conservative lawyers put in the courts. We want certain regulations rolled back because, we need to support the big corporations who want to suck every single resource out of the country in, the next 3 days. And we want your support on this census thing because, while you don't like brown and black people and you don't think those immigrants should be coming into the country, we kind of just don't want to have to take care of them. And the easiest and cleanest way of not having to take care of them is to not have them count. Well, how do you not have them count? You create a census that creates fear, and that in and of itself lowers the responses, so the numbers are skewed. They're not accurate, but they sure as heck reflect what you want them to reflect. So in some ways, that almost kind of explains why people who are corrupt and probably in bed with the Russians have sort of coalesced behind Trump, and they just support him. It's because their long-range plan, their game plan, and we've learned now that the Republicans are really good at that long view, right? They're not about the next election. They're about the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. So what you have here is a Republican Party who does not want to let go of control, and recognizing that they're probably not going to be able to maintain control for as long as they would like. There is this incredible manipulation going on to try to keep things or set things up or create situations where their thoughts and their philosophies are going to be protected and, in fact, promoted by, again, courts, certain branches of the government, and, funding and all of that kind of stuff that comes from the census. Well, we can just skew that so it benefits what we want this country to be and look like. So, that's just really, really what I'm seeing, right? They're motivated by the money. They have no hearts, okay? Like, literally, they don't care who they stab in the heart. They simply want the agenda the way they want the agenda, because they believe that then creates the United States that is a reflection of what they want and what they hold dear. So they're trying to create a world again, that reflected kind of that 1950s, early 60s era, where those same white men and those same old white men were really, rolling in the hay. It was a good little life for them. Who they stepped on, who they squashed, that didn't matter. Who they treated in a less than human way, but that didn't matter to them either. So what they have found in Trump is somebody who has enough hatred and resentment that they can use him to move their agenda forward. Because we know this isn't Trump's agenda. And sure, he's fired up about the whole immigration system. That's Trump. I'm not saying it's not aided and abetted by those Republicans, but that sort of came from Trump's little pot. And in many ways, that was honed and refined by the Stephen Kings and the Bannons of the world, right? They took what was like a flame of resentment, and they fed it and they fed it and they fed it until they made it a bonfire. And that would be what Trump got riled up with, and then he would march out to the rallies, and the rest is history. So, and sure, every once in a while Trump pushes back, almost because he doesn't like to feel that he's been manipulated, and so he pushes back. But when it comes right down to it, he is the mouthpiece and the puppet for the Republicans' more harmful desires. They look so long term, and they're kind of like, they don't really care who gets hurt or knocked off in the process. They just want what they want. And in Trump, of course, they have a greedy man whose ego must be fed, and so they feed it. And what that does is that keeps him their puppet. They tell him just enough, and the rest they just don't tell him, because he doesn't need to know. And he's greedy. He's only focused on him, his look, the way he presents, what people think about him. It's all ego-based with him. So it's very easy for them to manipulate him, right? And why am I not surprised? So what you have here is kind of harmful, evil deeds, people with backwards and harmful and hurtful intentions who are a slave to those old attitudes, the attitudes of them being superior, them being the chosen ones, them being the ones with the power and the money, and we're not going to relinquish that. And they are in a fight with that which is true, fair, and just. Again, they don't care how hard the burden is, because they're playing for the long game. And lining their pockets. Okay, so, they thought if they could do it behind the scenes, quietly, they could pass their thoughts, their programs, their plans, and people would kind of let it slide by. It could maybe just be done very subtly, so it was under the rug. Of course, one of the flaws is that you put the likes of Wilbur Ross in charge of that, and he can't rip together a coherent answer when he knows what he's talking about. So when they started questioning him about it, it was lies and deceptions and pivots, and that started to throw up a little some red flags, and then people got focused on it. So it's an interesting read I got on this. It really does sound like manipulators manipulating other manipulators. Kind of really is the feel of what's going on in the higher kind of echelons of your political system right now. So, the big deal is, you got to fight back. You got to push back against that, because the last thing that needs to happen is that more people don't count and more groups get minimalized, because that is not how an inclusive, healthy, productive society functions. So, I have one more thing to share with you. As you know, yesterday was my celebration of my 1,000 subscribers. And what an amazing day it was for me. So, I have a friend. She's very special to me. We are bound not only by friendship, but by blood. And she is ridiculously empathic, super, super sensitive. And she zones into energies literally past, present, future. She just can travel almost anywhere. And so sometimes she picks up some really, really interesting messages. One of the things that I needed to do yesterday was spend some time with her, and that was probably only, one of the more calmer portions of my day. And she had given me this lovely little sort of token to commemorate my celebration of 1,000 subscribers. And then she handed me this. And I was like, I don't know if you can see it. It says, life is heavenly when you have friends for angels. And I unwrapped it and it was beautiful. I loved it, but I was confused, right? It's like, well, you already gave me something to commemorate. So what's this one about? I want you to read I will read to you what is on the back. It says, "Dearest Cindy, thank you for your light, love, guidance, and support. We appreciate you sharing your talents, skills, and wisdom to help us live a more peaceful life." And I said, "Who's it from?" And she said, "It is from the collective consciousness of your viewers and subscribers. All of their good wishes, all of their blessings, everything they send you, like attracts like, right? So it creates some volume out there, in the universe somewhere." And she was able to tap into your good wishes, the support you're sending me, and she manifested it sort of into something physical. So, viewers and subscribers, thank you for this really lovely and amazing gift. This reading is the whole thing is a little bit more sort of esoteric than I normally go down the road with premonitions of Trump being a puppet for the Republicans and gifts from the collective consciousness of my viewers. But, that's kind of the world I live in, and that's what allows me to do what I do. Again, thank you so much for the lovely gift that was completely unexpected. The likes, the views, the subscribes, the comments. I still haven't finished going through all of the comments from my congratulations yesterday, so I'm going to get on that today. And this weekend, I really, really hope to get things sort of set up in a more logical way for me to start booking private readings. I really appreciate the requests for them. I'm just having a little bit of trouble. I've been so overwhelmed that I'm just having a little bit of trouble kind of creating a system that's going to work in both directions. So if you have requested me for a reading, keep your eyes open over the next day, 2, 3, and you should be hearing back from me, and hopefully we'll be able to move forward and schedule those. For all the rest, I love your support. I'm so grateful. Thank you. And until next time, take care, be well. We'll see you soon. Bye.